Welcome to the Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Podcast. I am Dr. Jay Calvert, and today we have a really fun and special podcast to do, along with, of course, Dr. Millicent Rovelo, who is here looking very fancy and fabulous as always.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited about our guest.
We have a fun and fabulous guest.
We do.
Oh, thank you, guys.
It is Christina Naranjo, our new physician assistant, certified physician assistant.
That's right.
In the J. Calvert MD / ROXSpa / Roxbury Clinic and Surgery Center practice. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
And we're really happy that you came in to talk to us. We want to, hear all about what you do. And I don't know that everybody. So around the world, people don't have physician assistants. So like when I say physician assistant in Paris, for instance, at the MCAS conference, people look at us and go like, oh, so like a secretary.
Yeah. Right.
They don't know what a physician assistant is. So you're going to tell us all about it.
Okay, so physician assistant is, we're also referred to as mid-level providers. We're licensed to practice medicine in the United States and then also in some other countries, Australia, Canada, and some of maybe all of the UK. But it's over a 50-year-old profession. I think it's about maybe 57 or so years old. But you're right, a lot of people do not know what PAs are. PAs are what we are referred to for short. But like I said, we're licensed to practice medicine. We train.
No, stop right there. You're licensed to practice medicine.
Yeah.
You see, that's the part people don't get. So it's different. That's like a nurse has a nursing degree.
Correct.
A nurse practitioner is similar to a PA in that they can practice medicine the way that they do. They are nurse practitioners. A PA is basically a type of mid-level practitioner who is licensed to practice medicine, and which means you can diagnose and treat patients on your own.
Correct. We are somewhat limited legally, and I think this is a good thing because our training isn't as robust as physicians, but we do have to have some collaboration with physicians that's monitored somewhat by the state board. It varies in each state. Same thing with nurse practitioners. But the schooling is pretty rigorous. The undergraduate requirements are pretty much the same as for medical school. So most of my colleagues or cohort went to undergrad for chemistry or biology or whatever. And then the graduate school is anywhere from 2 to 3 years. My program was 2.5. I think that's about average. It's 7 semesters crammed into 2.5 years. So it's like 129 credit hours in 2.5 years.
And that includes your studies, your book studies, as well as your clinical rotations, kind of like a pseudo mini residency, right? And it's all under the guise of the 2.5 years.
Yes. Okay. It's a didactic and rotations in the 2.5 years.
And then you come out and you can practice alongside a physician in any field, really. You can do the ER, you could be an OB-GYN, you could do derm, plastics, whatever suits your fancy.
That's right. And actually, I was in dermatology the last 5 years, so...
That's right. That's where we snatched her up from a derm practice. It is interesting how you got here. So, because Dr. Rovelo said, "Well, how did you find her?"
So it is interesting, and it has to do with this podcast. So I went to school in Georgia. That's where I'm from, Mercer. But I did a lot of my rotations out here in California because I knew I wanted to live out here. I have some family out here, and it kind of just made sense. My school allowed me to set some rotations up, and I did a couple that were in Beverly Hills, and I knew I wanted to be in dermatology. And when I first graduated, I worked at Newport Center Urgent Care in Newport Beach. And as soon as one of the doctors I rotated with offered me a job in derm, I just took it and moved to Beverly Hills. So that's where I practiced the last 5 years. And I decided, after a couple things that happened in this past year and last year, that I was kind of over living in LA and wanted to be back in Newport Beach. And I had been listening to your all's podcast for maybe a year or so. And I heard you mention your office in Newport. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to message him on Instagram and see if he'll give me a job, because That would just be so cool. And now here I am.
And here we are. And that's how
Lo
it
and
works.
behold, that's
Isn't
how
that
it works.
crazy?
Oh, that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
what were you doing in your derm practice then? What kind of medicine were you doing?
It was medical and cosmetic dermatology. So all of it, really. When I first started, I was probably doing about 80% medical dermatology and 20% cosmetic. And then as time went on, it was about 50-50. So my role here at your practice is pretty much the same. Because I'm not really in surgery. So it's aesthetic medicine and cosmetic dermatology, that sort of thing, as long as I'm not in surgery, is really the same across the board. So fillers, Botox, cyst excisions, skin checks, acne, rosacea, that was I was doing all that stuff before. Skin cancer excisions, even some melanoma inside too, though, which I did in time.
Yeah. And acne is a big deal, especially
It is.
with my nose practice. I have some teenagers, and acne comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to really make a big difference, especially for. I can't tell you how many kids I do this amazing nose for them, and then they come back and it's time to take the post-op photos. And I'm like, can I give you antibiotics for 2 weeks before we take these? Because man,
not
what is
good.
going on? Like, did you just stick your head in a cotton candy machine? Like, what is the acne is really tough on the teenagers. I mean, all my
Pretty
kids, all
intense.
mine had. I think every one of them's taken
Accutane.
Accutane at this point. I
was
think
Accutane.
they all have.
Yeah.
So and you do that. That's something you do.
It is, yes. It's something I do.
No, I know. So that's good.
I love it.
I do surgery, so
Yeah.
here
we go.
an amazing physician assistant in both, and you have been coming to both offices because
I have.
you obviously it's more convenient to be in Newport, but
Yes.
you probably got some people in Beverly Hills that don't want to give up on you.
I do. Yeah.
So
Thankfully.
that's good.
Yeah. It's just nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing? What do you love doing? Do you love doing Botox? Do you love doing fillers?
I love doing injectables. I really do.
It's kind
All
of your
it.
jam.
It is kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good because we need people who are well trained and well versed in doing injectables because we have a whole. Well, actually, that's kind of the intro to what we're doing here. We have a whole like buyer beware PSA set
True.
of podcasts that we do. When I hear something and I get particularly inflamed about the unfairness and the manipulation and the hypocrisy, and I hate it. I hate it when people take advantage of unknowing, unsuspecting people and patients and take their money and do awful, unjust things. So that's sort of one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you because I understand you've heard some rumors about some shady business happening down in Newport.
That's right. So it was funny because earlier this year, I saw something on, I don't know if it was New England Journal of Medicine or maybe it was FDA. I don't really know, but I might have gotten an email or something that there were some cases of botulism from counterfeit Botox in the United States.
I did hear that. Yes.
And they were kind of reported over a period of 4 months or so from the beginning of the year until April. And they were spread across, it said like 7 states at first. And the last time I checked, which was last week, it was reported in at least 11 states.
Wow.
I know, botulism.
So let's take a step back about that, right? So Botox is such a ubiquitous term, and everyone knows more or less what Botox is, especially if you're going to listen to this podcast. But Botox is botulism toxin. So there is one center, as of at least like a year or two ago, that creates Botox for all the worldwide distribution of Botox. And it's in Ireland in this tiny, tiny, tiny town. And to get into the manufacturing place, you have to go through like 5 sets of like
even know that.
sealed glass air containers. You have to put on the hazmat suit and do all this stuff because if even like the tiniest droplet or amount or speck of Botox or botulinum gets out of this facility, like the entire town could be poisoned. Like this is how potent it is. And if you ever see a little vial of Botox, it looks like there's nothing in there. It looks like air because you need like nano amounts of Botox to have an effect. Because the side effects of having too much Botox in your system or exposed to it is botulinism, which is basically like paralysis. That's kind of how we discovered Botox. It causes you to go into system full body paralysis.
Right.
Yeah, so I love getting it injected into my forehead. I'll tell you, it's just
I mean, the thing just, it
it's
freezes.
so amazing,
it's beautiful. But that's all to be said.
Sign me up.
Like the regulation of Botox is very real. And so if you're getting this injected into your forehead, you really want to make sure that you're getting the real deal that's been processed appropriately, because otherwise you could have these catastrophic side effects.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of shocking because whenever I first saw those articles, I'm sure that you have been followed by these pages on Instagram and stuff too. Like I've gotten ads from illegitimate sources to buy Botox, or they're not, but it's not real Botox, right? It's really cheap. It might be called.
Can't say I have.
No, you haven't. I have.
I don't think they reach out to the doctor practices as much.
Yeah, I've
know.
never gotten anything like that.
Yeah.
I've been followed by accounts like this before.
Interesting. Okay, so tell
Yeah.
Well, because they know you're an injector.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
And they
think maybe you want to do a side hustle.
like a little side hustle thing.
So what did they say?
They don't say anything. They're
Yeah.
just like random accounts on Instagram that'll just like follow you every now and then.
Okay.
So I've probably been followed by like maybe 5 just throughout my career. And I'll look at them and I'm just like, wow, this is pretty insane. Like if you go on their websites, you can buy a bottle of like Naboda or whatever they're marketing. And some of them do say Botox for $90 or $80 for 100
Wow.
units.
And on the real Botox website, depending on your practice and how much you go through, 100 units of Botox cost about $600, $600 and change. So if you're being sold Botox 100 units for $80, $90, like
It's not Botox.
there's something wrong.
There's something really wrong.
Yeah.
So when I first moved down to Orange County, which was it was in like May, but I wasn't working for a couple months. I took a couple months off, and then when I started going back to work, I'm telling all my friends, I'm like, of course, everybody has to come in and see me. You can't go to see anybody else. It's like illegal. Not really, but
That's exactly
it's like
right.
It's not okay.
No, these are your people. They need to support you.
Yes, and I'm like, whatever you're paying, of course, we'll just match it. Like if it's $10, $12, $11, $13, $14 a unit, because you can't go somewhere else. But they're paying like $6 a unit.
Oh, wow.
$7. No, seriously. Or $7 a unit. And bottle Botox is $655 just for the Botox.
Yeah, so
now.
what?
That's
So how are you making
$6
any
a
money?
unit right there.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly. And that's not including the rent, the syringes, the saline, the injector fee, like all of this other stuff. Like it costs more than that.
Where you rent, where you practice. Like these costs are very real.
Well, I will go on record, though, that Allergan was very smart to commoditize Botox and make it seem like it doesn't matter who injects it. It doesn't matter where you get it. It doesn't matter.
You're
It should be
right.
bought by a unit. And that is 1,000% horse manure.
Well, that's why different people charge more per unit.
Yes, because there's a skill involved.
Yeah, so it's not just the cost of the actual
No,
product.
it's
It's,
like-
the person that's injecting it and their skill and their experience. But
I feel like I'm getting my soapbox out, so I'm going to stop right now.
Step
I'm going
down,
to put it back.
off. Yes.
I'm going to put it over there, and I'm going to let
Please.
Christina continue to tell her
Thank you.
story.
Carry on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, and the more I've been practicing over the last month there, the more I'm hearing it, and not just from my friends, it's also from patients. So people saying there's a couple, I'm not going to name them, but there are a couple of med spas in particular that people are going to in the Newport, Costa Mesa, just Orange County area that are chains and well-known, and they have beautiful websites. They look totally legitimate from the website, and they're cheap. They're
much
like
are they
$6
charging?
or $7 a unit.
Feel free to name them. I name these people all the time because that can't be legitimate. And if they are, then they'll come out and tell us they are. You don't have to name them.
It's up to you.
One of them is called Naked, and then the other one, there's another one.
I don't know that one. And where is that located?
Then there's another one that's called I think it's DermFX or something.
DermFX is down on PCH. I drive by that.
I don't know where exactly they're located.
But they're $6 a unit?
I don't know exactly the price, but no, some of them are. One of them is. It's
Wow.
or $7 or something
All
like
right,
that.
we don't know which one, so
Might
we're
be
not saying
$7,
anything.
but they're not more than $10 a unit.
We may have just done an ad for them. People are like, $6 a unit. I'm in
Sign
there.
me up.
and so maybe the range is from 6 to 10. I'm really not sure, but really it costs like $10 a unit. You're not making money on Botox charging $10 a unit at all.
No, but the $10 a unit places, that can be legit. They do high volume. volume. And usually these are people that are learning, that are training.
Right.
So the $10 is a little more realistic to me. I could see how that might be legitimate, and it's just a mill. They're just churning and burning them. Get in, get out, get your numbers. But if you're
anything
charging
below
6
that-
or 7, it's a little more suspect.
Right. And I know at least one of those is. And there was another one that was called Image that was actually shut down. And I couldn't find a news article about it. This was shut down last year. One of my girlfriends told me about it. I couldn't find a news article, but there was a bunch of stuff on Reddit about it. So they had unlicensed injectors, which is another thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what else was going on. Maybe it was counterfeit Botox. Maybe it wasn't. But I think one of my patient, or actually 2 of them last week, said that they were going to one of the med spas that I named, and that it just wasn't lasting as long. So that it could be counterfeit Botox, which is the worst case scenario in my opinion, or they could just be hyper diluting it.
Yeah, that's the other way. They can dilute it down to like nothing. So you still get an effect, but it's very weak and it's not awesome.
And it doesn't last
See,
very long.
I never understand that when people are like, oh, they just dilute the Botox. But you're still getting the unit. So you can, so usually you dilute Botox with a 1.5 or 2.5 cc's of saline, and then you get a certain ratio of how many units are like in a cc or whatever. So if you're putting in 10 cc's of saline into this Botox, you're not changing how many units are in that vial.
Right.
So are they charging by the amount of cc's
The
they're
amount of
injecting?
volume? I'm not sure.
So that's what I don't understand.
I really
People are
don't
like,
know.
oh, they dilute their Botox. I'm like, but you're still paying for it by the unit, and the units don't change. You just are putting more I don't
right.
get it. I don't get
I
it.
think they're probably charging by the volume, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because there's
Or by
no
the
other...
area or something like that, the forehead
Yeah,
or the
maybe.
eyes or something like that.
But
It's very hard to tell.
I don't
That's
know.
why
I really
think-
don't know.
But that's
I've
why you
never
go into
worked in a
places
place
like the
that,
ROXSpa.
thank God. Yeah.
So the complaints that you're seeing from your patients and your friends are that they're going to these places that have super cheap prices, and they're just not seeing the effect that they are used to seeing.
Yeah, it lasts like maybe a month and a half.
Okay.
And then it's totally gone. And yes, really cheap prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you tell your friends?
And actually,
patients?
one of my girlfriends, I was at dinner with her last night, and I mentioned this to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah," and she mentioned she mentioned naked.
Yeah.
She had heard about it also, and she practices
Wow.
up here.
That's so
so it's
interesting.
not like I know it's a thing. I'm like so disappointed because we can't match $7 a unit. Like I was surprised too because it's not like people are poverty stricken in Newport Beach. Like
No.
it's the opposite of that.
Yes.
So I don't know why they need to search for these deals when, I mean, it's really serious when you're getting something injected into your body, especially a toxin.
Well, if you
You kind of want it to be legit.
If you have unlicensed practitioners, they
Right.
can't just go and work at Dr. J. Calvert, MD, or to
True.
one of the more sophisticated places. So they're going to attract people the only way they know how, which is by having really low prices. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we charge, is it $17 a unit or $15 a unit? to inject?
15.
15. And, whatever it is, it's a lost leader. Like in reality, we're doing Botox more as like a service for our patients because then, the place that we make money in plastic surgery in a med spa is really on lasers and fillers.
Right.
Botox, we do it because
Botox is not a
re-
moneymaker for
No, it's not a moneymaker for anybody. So,
Right.
so whether we charge 12, 13, 14, 15, 10, 11, whatever units, dollars per unit, I think is silly because really you should be paying for an experienced
Right.
injector or
We put the soapbox back there, remember?
no, I don't know if you're watching. I got it back out, and so that's why it's like, why do people see it as an opportunity? Like it's not a commodity. Like
It's not.
your skill in being able to inject Botox for somebody and get the effect, and knowing where to put it so that it makes you better looking when it's all done, which is the whole goal,
Yeah.
is worth the money.
It is.
It is. It's worth
it
it.
is.
Definitely worth the money.
Yeah.
And then the other scary thing is, aside from whether or not it's, quote, diluted or you're just not getting the right thing, is it could very well be one of these illegitimate, illegal Botoxes that are out there, which, as you referenced, has a very real potential of causing serious problems and paralysis and all of the bad things that go with having actual botulism.
Right.
Toxins
One of
in
the
your
girls had to
body.
be put on a ventilator.
Yeah, because she couldn't breathe. Her
Because she
diaphragm
couldn't breathe
stopped working.
because she exactly.
Yeah. So and the other place that I've noticed and I've heard about fake injectors are people that advertise really only on social media. I remember hearing about this one lady who was in nursing school, and she was advertising on her social media that she did injections and Botox and fillers for these crazy low prices. Like for a syringe of God knows what, she called it Juvederm, I don't know what she had. She was charging like $125. It cost $300 to buy that syringe. So I don't know what she was getting, where she was getting it from. Scary. But the telltale things, people, so if these things happen to you, kind of like take pause. In order for her to inject you, you had to reach out to her on Instagram. And then once you put in a deposit of however much money, then she tells you where to go and what the address is. And it's only a cash, like Venmo situation. And then when you do find the address, it's like in a salon, like a hair salon. So like she's renting a chair. Like all of these things add up to someone who is not licensed to be practicing and is not injecting legitimate products. And do you really want someone that's not adequately trained sticking needles into your body with God knows what kind of foreign substances? Like these are really, really serious things. Like people, if you can't afford it, save your money, but go to like someone who's legitimate, because the problems that can come from these kind of injections are horrific.
Well, yeah, we had our podcast of my patient who was getting those, like, whatever they were injecting into her butt.
What was it? Silicone?
We don't know.
No idea. It wasn't silicone.
It
was
came in like volumes of like 50 and 100 cc's. Yeah. So God knows what it was.
And that person wasn't licensed, right?
No, they were an esthetician.
Oh, no.
But doing like major league volumes of injections into
terrible.
butts.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, she necrosed my patient's butt. It was terrible. So yeah, for anybody who wants to go back and listen to that one, that was a
goodie.
It was a gut wrenching. It was
unsubscribe.
Yeah.
It was nasty. But so this is why we like to have a legitimate physician assistant, and we've had Orla on the podcast in the past, who's been with me for 20 years in the Beverly Hills office. A very legitimate certified physician assistant who, is extremely skilled and very competent at lasers, Botox, all that stuff. And that's why I think really, people just need to come to us. In the end, if you just want to be sure, then
there's tons of med spas out there, right? And I'm sure some of them are really good. But if you're really trying to be on the safe end of things, probably best to go to an injector, whether it's a doctor or a nurse or a PA, who's in a doctor's office, a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon, because then you know that there's probably some level of legitimacy. Except for the one practice I heard about a few years ago of a PA who opened their own practice and wasn't even a certified PA. They were just like a PA that never passed their certification boards and was passing themselves off as a dermatologist and doing injections and stuff. So buyer beware. I don't even know what to tell you, because people are shady and the laws in this state are very hard to enforce. And
you can look people up.
And
on the medical board.
Yeah, the medical board site. It's right there.
Yeah. If they say they are a doctor, you should be able to look up where they went to medical school, where they did their residency. They should have a profile on the California Medical Board website. Yes. Like, it takes a little extra work, but I think it's worth it in the end.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, those are easy things to do, and also if you can get a referral from somebody, that's very helpful.
Totally.
That's
but know your referral source.
There's that.
There is that. That's true. But I think a lot of our patients are a good bunch of them are referrals. I mean, my surgical practice is like. It's like 80%, 90% referrals. Yeah. I mean, I just they come from other patients and other doctors and people who know the practice, because it's really, it's hard to find a good plastic surgeon. It's hard to find a good medi-spa. I mean, we're right here, people. That's what we're right at the table. We're all ready, but it's true, and people do sort of. There are all these services, like I think we did a podcast about sort of the referral, the brokers of plastic surgery and how they, pay for play with the surgeons and things like that. And, you see a lot of this stuff that just makes you kind of go like, how does anybody who doesn't have a friend in the business basically get to the right place? Like, how do you get to the right, practitioner? How do you get to the right surgeon? And, that's where, I think
It's
it is
hard.
really hard.
It's hard.
It is. It's
It really is
really
mostly
hard.
It really is hard.
referrals.
Yeah.
I mean, I do
unless-
feel for the general public out there because there's so much snake oil in marketing. And
There is.
if you don't know someone in the business, like how in the world would you know where to start?
Right.
Yeah.
Or know about any of these concerns.
Which is why we're doing this.
Yeah, I love
so
it.
that's a good little message. So what's your future look like? Now that you got you're situated in Orange County and you're coming up to Beverly Hills to take care of your people there. What's the future? You're going to keep coming to Beverly Hills? You're going to nestle in the OC?
I mean, I really want to build in Orange County. That's my goal. But I am going to continue coming to Beverly Hills. For the
can't let your people
unforeseeable
down.
future, like probably forever. So
You can't let your people down.
no, I can't.
They love you.
I can't. Yeah, and I love them. I care about them. You develop relationships with your patients.
Yeah,
Like I've
for
been
sure.
seeing them for not that long, but 5 years. It's long enough. I know like a lot of
5 years
details
is
about
real.
their lives, and they trust me, and I love seeing them. So
Yeah.
I was like, I can't abandon them. So yes, I'm going to continue to come up here. Not that often, but probably a couple of days a month. It just depends on the demand, and build an OC.
Do you like all those toys that I have in the Newport office?
Obsessed. I'm like so excited to be at a practice with so many devices. There
We got
are
a
like
lot.
so many. Yeah, I love it.
It's like Laser
And
City.
I learned how to use all of them.
Potenza?
love it.
Is that your favorite? I don't know. PicoSure.
I really actually am liking the Pico a lot. I've seen a couple people come back like since I've learned how to use the device. I'm impressed with it.
The
I don't know.
PicoSure
I
is
don't know if I have a
impressive.
favorite device. I love Potenza and I love Morpheus. Like I love microneedling RF.
Yeah, the PicoSure is pretty impressive though. I mean, that
cool.
thing works.
And it doesn't hurt very much. And
No.
it does. It works.
Well, because it's a different. It's not a laser per se.
Right.
That's the whole point. And
Yeah.
it works through a very different technology.
It does.
And, I will tell you one thing about the PicoSure. It's very expensive to buy one.
It's so expensive.
I don't
But that's
know.
why it works.
I don't know. Maybe I'd had a stroke that day or something, but somehow like they convinced me to buy one, and you got to have this. You got to have, and it's true. It does melasma. It does
Yeah.
all kinds of pigment. It's really a very versatile laser.
It can be used to take away benign nevi like moles.
Yeah.
Scarless.
Yeah,
I just used it on a Fitz 5 today on a mole, basically on the back of her leg.
Wow.
That was quite big, and I felt very comfortable doing it. And it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's FDA approved for it.
Yeah, it's
That's very cool.
it's such
so
unique
cool.
technology.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's such an expensive laser.
Yeah, it's really expensive. I only know one other practice with it.
You are going to need to do roughly
God, no.
1,007.
Thousands of PicoSure
Yeah,
treatments.
if you do like 2,000 or 3,000 of those moles, we'll get close to being able to pay for it.
Yeah,
That's-
that sounds about
right. Isn't that about right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do that, then we're good. But I have it. It's there. And those of you that are
Any
fighting
skin
for melasma,
type.
yeah, I mean it does.
That's
It works
great.
on
Even
anything.
really, even Fitz 6. So.
And that's the nice thing about the Potenza, which is a RF microneedling
Yeah.
device, which you can also use on almost any skin type.
Any, really.
Because it's not a light-based therapy.
Right.
That's the thing.
Heat,
Like
but
people,
still.
I always am impressed with some practitioners who have absolutely, and this is not you because you are very wise and smart and you've learned throughout your career, obviously, the laser technology,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the key to being good at lasers. I'm impressed by many practitioners who see the laser as something that you turn on, you look at the patient, you look at the settings, match them up, and start firing. And it's like, that is not how this works.
You got to know the science behind
You
it.
have to know the laser medicine. You have to understand radio frequency. You have to understand how these devices work so that you can adjust accordingly and get and not only prevent problems, which is always an issue with lasers and burns and
That's
things
my
like that
main
are
concern.
Yeah, they come with the territory. But
They do.
But
Unfortunately.
at the same time, you want to get a good effect.
Yep.
And the way that you get really good at it is by knowing the laser medicine and
Yep.
understanding it that way. And I'm just so impressed that some of these practices, it's just like, okay, so you look at the patient, and then you pick this button and you hit this button and start firing. And I'm just like,
Wrong.
That's not how this works at all. Not
good
even
enough.
close. That's not even in the ballpark of reality. You
You're right.
must understand the laser
Right.
medicine.
It's really irresponsible if you don't.
Yeah, and
you're not- you don't have
and you can
poor
get away
outcomes.
with it, but you're going to have problems. And as I always tell everybody who's starting off with a new device, I'm sure I said this to you at some point, walk up to the result. Don't
you
don't
did.
go charging after it. Just walk up to the result.
Yeah.
If you got to bring them back and do an extra round, bring them back. The device is there. I already sunk the money into that thing. It's done. So do it again. If you have to. I'd rather you walk up to the result than go for the home run and have a problem. It doesn't make sense, and especially with some of these they're powerful technologies. We don't mess around at the ROXSpa.
No,
This is legit stuff for sure.
It is.
Yeah, this is not a little IPL here and there. We're
No, but
we're going for
IPL
it.
you can really mess people up with too, actually.
The most problems I've had
with
in
IPL?
ROXSpa is with IPL.
I believe it. I feel like the Pico, honestly, is safer than IPL, but I don't. I mean,
100%.
yeah, it is. Which is very cool, but still.
Just for those of you following along at home, IPL stands for Intense Pulse Light. Intense Pulse Light. Did I say that right? So Intense Pulse Light basically means that you take one of these light bulbs that are over our heads and turn it up and flash really hard, and it throws all the light of the spectrum at whatever you aim it at. Very different than a laser, which what a laser does is it takes that same energy, it puts it through a crystal, and it collimates it. It makes the light uniform, and it brings it through a certain crystal that selects for a certain wavelength of light, and you're delivering a uniform, very regulated, power-based version of that light that attacks a certain color, or it's what's known as the chromophore. So whatever it is, whether it's CO2 and you're trying to resurface skin, that's attracted to the water, or if it's a ruby laser, which is for red pigments and things that you want to get redness out of, then you would use our V-beam laser. So there's the technology is really key, and I think the public has very little understanding of that and why you come to a place like ours to do this stuff.
I mean, it's a lot of physics. It's like you said,
Totally.
it is all physics, really.
That's kind of why I love it.
Yeah.
I did get A's in physics.
Sure you did.
I did.
believe
I
it.
love physics. I should have been a nuclear physicist. I would have been totally into it. So which is your favorite? You don't have a favorite as of yet? You're just
No, I'm undecided. Oh, either the Pico or Potenza. I do love microneedling RF. I just think that the results are always so pretty. Really,
And you are
tightens
very
the skin a little bit.
And you're
so
very
it's nice.
knowledgeable in our skincare products. Do you have a favorite product that everybody should have, no matter who you are? Is there a cleanser? Is there a toner?
Sunscreen.
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 Wear sunscreen.
No brainer. Yes, it's like the most important thing. I do have some favorite products. I love the Alpha Ret, I think, because it's so tolerable and it's truly a retinoid.
Can everybody use that, or is it a little rough for some people?
I honestly think everybody can use it. Alpha Ret.
All right.
It's so well tolerated, even though it is truly a retinoid instead of a retinol. So they're a little bit stronger, but the way that they've formulated it, I think really everybody can use it. And the way that the pump is, you're never going to use too much, which is some people run into problems using too much of it. And I think as long as you're counseled on how to use them, they're easy. But that product in particular is excellent. And then there's a new product from SkinCeuticals that I'm just absolutely obsessed with, the Botox.
Oh, yeah.
Obsessed.
The Botox in a bottle.
It actually is really impressive. I was
Really?
shocked. Yes, I was shocked. But I have I'm just obsessed with skincare in general.
So then they got to get in to talk to you. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yep, she's available for virtual
there.
consultations too.
Yeah.
You need to talk about products. We can send them out to you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all part of being a great aesthetics PA is understanding the entire spectrum.
Yes.
And what I think, I don't know how you did it at your old practice, but what I tell everyone to do is, like, when somebody comes in and you're starting new with them, make a plan for the next couple of years, because if you just come in for some Botox and you're going to be unsatisfied. And we talk about that a lot. We
true.
talk about having like an aesthetics attitude.
It's a journey.
Yeah, it is. It's not just a one and done. You want to stay on the train and stay with one practitioner that you really like, so that you can get the effects that you want over time.
I agree.
Yeah, Orla's people have been coming to her since she was a student with me. I swear to God, like they've just, like, we've all gotten a lot older
She's
together.
great. Yeah.
She's not old, but I am. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Do you have anything else that our people need to know about you? Did we miss anything?
No, I think that you guys covered pretty much everything, honestly.
I think so.
A lot of it, yeah.
Anything, Dr. Rovelo?
I've really enjoyed tonight.
Oh, good.
Thank you for having me.
Been a
Yeah, that's
pleasure.
great. It's really awesome. No, we're happy that you came in, and it's important for our listeners to understand. And we got to have Orla back too. We haven't had her in a while.
I know. She's due.
She was. I think she was on the sofa the last time that we had her on. Yeah, she's due.
Yep.
She needs to come in and tell us what's different.
The sofa.
Yeah, we had a sofa for a
Yeah,
while.
before we had the studios,
Then we had. You know, we've done this podcast a lot of different ways.
And it's time for her to come back in. But we really appreciated having you, Christina.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure, and we're so happy that you are settling in and getting to know all of our patients and taking care of them and warning us of all of these dangers. I had no idea.
I know. It's shocking.
Don't go to any other Medi-Spa, Dr. Rovelo. That's all
I
we're
will
saying.
not.
Don't.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah.
And this is the Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Podcast coming to you from the 90210.